Welcome back to the listening show. We've been gone for quite some time, it feels like, but definitely our longest away from the show time. Walter, are you listening to me right now?
Duh.
All right, joke over. Why don't you tell them what happened and why it's all your fault?
Okay, so what Zach did was... Oh, I trusted him. That was my fault. No, what happened? So, well, it starts with this. We stopped our last show almost 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. I was putting everything away, packing my laptop, which, you know, is what runs the show, what I work with. It's my life. And I closed it, and I heard a little crunch. I was like... And, one of my cords was sitting on top of my laptop, and it just got crushed under the screen. It cracked it. I was like... That was probably an $800 mistake. Long story short, it was. It cost me $800, and it also cost me and us not being able to have my laptop for 2 weeks. We could not record the show. On top of that, the weather was piss.
It was ass.
And I actually broke my laptop and lost my Jeep, which was my only vehicle, so I couldn't drive anywhere anyway. But we're back. We fixed it. We're finally moving on.
We froze like the state did. The whole state. Actually, I think the whole Midwest froze for about a week.
Yeah, there was a great infographic showing like the...
It was everything but Tennessee or something like that.
It was... my vlogging friend, Baker X Derek, posted a picture. Everything was frozen except the very west coast, very east coast. And there was a couple captions like, this is a hot pocket. That was a good one.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
And then he lives in California. He said, it's really cold up there, guys. Stay safe. And of course, his area was 65 degrees. And we're all like, ha, 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 screw you.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it was it was like below 10 Fahrenheit for like a week. And it snowed a lot for a couple days. And the roads just couldn't get cleaned. But now, a couple nice days of weather have gone by. The snow is gone. And it was like 45. So it's fine now.
Yeah, it was... there was at one point where it was negative 10 degrees outside. It was like 9. It was dark out. It was like 9 p.m. And our friend, who's my neighbor, she called and she said, hey, I meant to beat the cold weather with my car because it just dies when it gets cold. And I got almost all the way home from the grocery store when my car died in the parking lot. And the ice is so slippery that I can't roll it in to a parking space. And so I went out. Me and a couple other neighbors went out and like pushed her car in like negative 10 degrees into a parking spot. And we were probably only out there pushing and being out there for like 5 to 10 minutes. But by the time I got home, my fully covered ears with like a hat and another hat and a hood on top of all that were so frozen and my face was red. It was like amazing. I was like, I feel so alive. But it was cold. Yeah. It was really cold. Yeah, I was sad to hear. Like, here's my perspective from last week's occurrence with the laptop. I was like, okay, because the studio's at the farm where my parents and my grandparents live. I was like, I'm going to go hang out with my family while you finish up here. He's like, okay, just be out here in a few minutes and then we can go home. So 5 minutes later, a little over 5 minutes probably, because I take my time. I came back out here and you're sitting in your car and I didn't. It didn't feel any exuding, like emanating hatred, like I probably could have anticipated after that. But you just like kind of plainly and happily said, "I'm really upset." And I was like, "You are?" He's like, "Yeah." Like you were like smiling. And I was like, "What is wrong with you?" And then you told me what happened. He goes, "I went and closed my laptop and heard." I was like. And both of us admit that because we both know what that beats. We mean that's money. If you don't have like Apple Care or something, but it's all better now.
Yeah,
even though it was expensive.
It's all better. I've actually made more expensive mistakes. I guess that's what made it to think of it. Mm-hmm. Wildly inconvenient, bad timing, but it's okay now. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I was thinking back to the most expensive mistakes I've made. I definitely think my laptop was involved in mine too.
Tell them about your laptop mistake.
I got really drunk and I threw up on my laptop and it ruined it.
That was a short version. Make it tell a slightly longer version.
I don't know if I've told it on the podcast before.
I don't think you have.
But I had a party at my house. My
slightly longer version.
Okay. Party at my house and we were drinking a lot. Maybe doing drugs. I don't remember, but we were doing chemicals and it was like, that was what the night was for. Cause I don't do it often, but I was like, I think I'll try getting drunk again. and whatever else. And then so I did.
You had your laptop by
Yes.
your bed on an arm, suspended by your bed.
I have like a clamp that I'd be able to like watch YouTube and have my laptop right by my bed. And it was awesome. It was such a sweet setup. And I even had it to where I could mix stuff. Like all of my music projects and everything were on this laptop. And I remember I was like pretty intoxicated. And then I was like, okay, it's time for me to shut this down and go to bed. And so I went to bed and I woke up a little while later and was like, oh no, I think I had too much. I'm going to throw up. But I was like, no problem. I've got the trash can by my bed. And so I sort of fumbled over and I grabbed the trash can in my mind and I was like, ugh, and I threw up in the trash can. I was like, good, I did it good. And I shoved the trash can back, went back to sleep. Next morning I woke up and in my mind I was like, perfect, I made it in the trash can. And that is not what happened. I just like threw up all over my laptop too.
I said slightly longer.
Yeah.
No, the punchline when you told me originally was you woke up like, oh, I feel much better now. And you got in your laptop, you started typing, and you're like, what is this so gooey?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And I was like, you threw up. Because you see, I threw up in the trash can, I felt better, but just like woke up, touched my laptop, like, this is gooey.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
That's just a grosser version
you
too.
threw up on your computer and ruined it.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, they were able
That's
to
an
rescue
expensive
it.
Mistake. They were the data or the whole computer.
The data.
Not
there
the
was no
computer.
rescue for the computer.
Yeah, that
It
really
was gone.
sucks, and it's gone now. I mean, unusable.
Yeah,
Broke.
I no longer have a laptop.
That sucks.
It's okay. That was my own fault. I don't think I've gotten drunk since then because I don't enjoy it. And I was like,
Can't risk ruining any more computers.
I'm imagining my one computer left at my house in the other room. Me waking up and throwing up on that one.
Sleepwalking. On your computer and then go back to sleep, and then you get back and go, I got the trash can.
Yes, I made it again.
Yeah, did it? I made it again.
Oh man,
Is that? I know you had a story you wanted to tell about your thoughtery last night.
oh, I had a cool conversation.
But before you do,
yeah,
I wanted to ask: was that the most drunk you've ever been? I wouldn't think so.
oh
Yeah.
no, that's just the last time I was drunk, and that was years ago. That was like almost 3 years ago.
How much did you drink? Oh, you had drugs too. Then I guess that would.
We did.
affect it.
I got a little like marijuana, and then I drank probably 25 beers.
It's many.
Yes.
Were you sick? I mean, you threw up, so that's sick. But like, did you feel bad or?
Yeah. No, I felt bad.
That sucks.
No, when you have like marijuana and alcohol combined, they call it twisted, and it's not fun. Like they're both fun, independent, as long as like only in moderation. I don't smoke much weed anymore, but it's fun by itself, and I guess it's kind of fun if you have barely a little bit of both, and then that's nice too. But I've gotten to the point where too much of anything isn't fun. But anyway, I had too much of both that night, and you feel fine. It was the weirdest thing because it was like, I'm definitely intoxicated and I don't want to be walking around anymore because I could tell I'm like hitting things, but I just want to go to sleep. And then when I was like, okay, I'm conscious enough, I'll just throw up in the trash can. Missed entirely.
I hit my high, not drugs, my record a few days ago. I had 15 shots of whiskey, but they were measured as in amount and timing. It was one shot every 15 minutes for 15 of them. And I was like, I bet I could drink more without getting sick, but that's my record. I'm good. And so I didn't throw up, didn't have a headache.
That's good.
So I was like, I'm like, good, I can take it. But then like 24 hours later, I was like, I am tired. And I went to sleep, and I 2 nights in a row, I slept hardest I've slept in years. I told you I had a sleepception. I had a dream that I was somewhere with some guys. I went to sleep on the couch, and I had dreams. I remember a lot of the dreams. I woke up on the couch with the guys, and then I woke up and realized, like, wow, I was like, it was all in 2 hours, but it felt like 8. Anyway, I got really sick like the second day. I was like, dude, I'm so tired. And it was like this. It's like a hangover, I guess, but it's at the wrong time. And so anyway, my spirits were great, but physically I felt horrible. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. So anyway, I hit my record, but you said you haven't drunk in a few years because your laptop, and like it could have been way worse, I guess. I could have actually felt like throwing. Anyway, I don't want to get worse than that. Like, I'm good for now.
Yeah.
And apparently you were, I don't want to say impressed. You're like, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot. Okay, then. And then
That's a lot.
your face like lights
Especially
up. Like,
every 15 minutes. That is a lot.
It's for science. I had to know.
Yeah, you did. Well, I have a theory about what happened to you, because that seems like your liver fighting back. Like, okay, you need to stop this. It's what that sounds like.
I think it was some organ failure, as all was.
Just
No, seriously, I think it was some
heart
organ
attack.
failure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Liver
so.
problem. I think it was organs like,
Like, yeah, I know that your brain can tolerate this much alcohol, but your body probably can't.
yeah, maybe it was something like that. I think mentally I was like prepared and I was like, I'm mentally I'm fine. And then body was like, no. I don't know.
But hey, now you know.
Now I know.
Now you know you're like this
Now
sort
I
of
can-
precipice.
Now if ever I felt peer pressure, which I don't think I will, I know what I could take to fit in to drink alcohol, which is apparently a lot. So
that is way more than necessary to fit in.
So cool. I
had to.
I don't have to, but if I had to, I could.
Yeah.
So that's all.
I've got the secret, by the way. This is a fun little thing about parties where alcohol is involved. The funnest part is that you can drink a very little bit and act really drunk, and that's fun too.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
cheating,
then you-
but I get
yeah,
it.
you
I
can.
get it. You could
Because all they care about is that you act drunk.
right?
And
yeah.
now I'm like,
You could
I could just do that.
You could be deceptive without specifically lying. You could say, "Oh man, I feel great." You're not saying you're
Oh,
drunk.
yeah.
You could just say, "I'm having such a great time," but you're not acting drunk. You're not saying you're drunk. You're not lying. You're giving them what they want. What?
This is the perfect tie into the next conversation.
Okay.
The whole like lying thing. Because here's just something about me. I won't lie about that kind of thing. If someone's like, "How many drinks have you had?" I'll be like, "I've had 2 and I'm feeling tipsy." Like I would do that. If I was
yeah.
just like acting crazy or whatever, they'd be like, "Man, you're crazy. How many have you had?" I'd be like, 3. You know, like, whoa. And they're like, okay, you know, that's all they, the whole point is that you leave inhibitions as behind as is appropriate in context.
Behind as a pair of cheeks.
Yes. So the next conversation that I wanted to bring up is I had a conversation last night about telling the truth, and it was interesting because there was this thing I might go on a spiel, but
Quick interruption. You
Yeah.
said I mentioned last night you had thoughtery. I meant that as a joke because I meant thoughtery as in THOUGHTERY, but also THOTERY
Oh.
because you had thoughts with girls or something like that. So
Yeah.
thoughtery was the joke, but
including your sister. She was over too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do this thing where there's movie night at my house, and I've invited just as many guys as girls, technically. At this point, only the girls show up.
technically,
Yes.
Walter is a man.
Yes, I've invited you, I've invited 2 other guys, and I've invited 3 gals. And so I've invited an equal amount, but the girls show up because they know how movie nights go. You have to be there to watch it. But anyway, so we were there, and usually after we watch movies, we're on Avatar: The Last Airbender right now, which is technically not a movie, so it's like show night. But anyway, we usually like just chat and we have conversations afterwards, like friends do, because that's what. Anyway, we got on the topic of because the couple of the gals were talking boy drama, and I was like, this is fun and fascinating. And I kind of got in the gossip part of it, but I don't really care about gossip anymore. I really care about like examining behaviors and like making predictions. And I'm pretty good at that stuff. And I was thinking, they were like, how are you so good at this? One of them asked me that because I basically told them, well, this is what I think happened with your boyfriend because this is how he was and this is how you were, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you pegged that. How do you know that? And I was like, I don't know exactly, but I think it does come a little easier to me than most people. Just like if I look at a situation, I can kind of analyze behaviors and stuff. And I got to thinking about it because they started making predictions of why they think that was. And they're both like, you're a pretty honest guy. And I was thinking about that, and I know what I've lied about before, but I was examining that statement and I was like, I think that's probably true. And when I was going back, I sort of was thinking about where that started, and it kind of started with the idea that if you tell the truth, then things improve in your life. And I kind of took that as you look like you're hearing something.
Yeah, I think I hear somebody outside.
Just
It's not important. I just was like wondering how close they are to the door.
okay.
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No, you're good. So the idea was that a few years ago, I adopted the idea that maybe I should just tell the truth more. And that's not as easy as it sounds. There's a Jordan Peterson
It's
lecture.
really easy if you have nobody in your life.
Right. So there's this interesting thing that about lying, which is like people do it all the time and you don't think about it. Like people, like when you start observing yourself and really watching yourself in conversation, and you'll notice how many times technically you lie. Like, but even about small things like, oh man, I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Maybe you got not very much sleep, but it was more than 4 hours, and you just are guessing down because it proves your point in the conversation more. And it's not a big deal to lie about something like that, but it has gotten to the point where I was in just the way that I justified. I was like, no, that counts as lying now. So I'm going to really watch things that I say and make sure that I say exactly what I mean. So I adopted that behavior back then. I've kind of fallen back into some of that habit where I don't tell full truths anymore. And so what I was thinking about, anyway, in this conversation is like, I should really start to examine myself again and see when I do that, because a side effect of doing that was so bizarre. But it was almost like you started seeing truth clearer around you. So like once you started in yourself being really like in myself, I started being like, okay, no, that wasn't a full truth. And then going back and saying to someone I was talking to, like, okay, that wasn't fully true. I just need to clarify. It was more like this. And I do that a lot now without thinking about it. All that to say, a side effect of that was things that used to be like really kind of confusing and unclear, like maybe relationships I had with girls and things, I started seeing clearer. Like, okay, this is what's unhealthy. I need to do this about it. I guess I should probably give examples.
I was following along.
Okay. If you're following along, that's the point. So what we started talking about was that idea was that even the small lies, they do something to like the way you see the world, and they kind of muddy things up. And then when you start actually really holding yourself accountable, I have an example of why. Sorry, I'm a little scattered about it. Here's an example of why it's not easy to do that. I adopted this sort of attitude about telling the truth probably when I was like 19 to 21. And what I told myself about things that might offend people is I don't have to say the truth. I can say nothing. That counts. But if I'm asked, I have to tell the truth. So when I'd have conversations with my parents about things like if I drank or did drugs, I would just have to tell the truth if they asked. And what that made me do was either I had to learn if I should be ashamed of what I was doing, if I could justify doing what I was doing, or if I needed to stop doing it. It was this really interesting thing because there were some things like maybe alcohol and like maybe marijuana and some other things where in my mind, I was like, why would I regularly not want to tell this to my parents? And is it because I believe it's wrong innately and I'm hiding it? Is it because I haven't yet justified it? Is it because I think I'm going to offend them? And then if it is whichever one of those three it is, either way, I need to find a way to tell the truth. And what that might mean is I need to stop the behavior. You still tracking?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and so in those examples, what was really fun about it is that I really grew into my adult self and was able to justify, no, I don't think it's morally wrong to do marijuana. Or no, I don't think it's morally wrong to do alcohol. I think both of those in excess is bad. And so now what I say is, I'm honest about it. It's like, yeah, I do drugs, but I don't do a lot of drugs because I don't think it's good. Anyway, all this to say, it was a really cool way to grow into adulthood. So in this conversation we were having last night, they were like, that is so interesting. It's like the side effect was that now you see clear what you need to do about things. And it's like you have an understanding of how things work better. And then I started talking about, and even more so when I added cutting out sugar. And they were like, what does that mean? I was like, you just feel clearer and smarter and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it like hit me. This is the thing that I was telling you. I started extrapolating on the idea. I was like, okay, wait a minute. If a person theoretically did what I did and just said, I'm going to watch myself and how often I lie, which is what I did. But they did that about everything they did constantly. Like, I'm going to watch how I talk to people, how I behave around people. I'm going to watch what content I absorb, what activities I do. If a person really watched everything they did and they cut out the garbage, sort of like I did with the little white lies and things like that, you can imagine a scenario where everything would become so clear to them that it might get to the point where they could see things that other just people can't see, like the future or like prophecies and stuff like that. And it was such a like outstanding thought in my mind that I was like telling the girls that, and they're like, holy cow, that's like what the monks do. They like have nothing to do except for self-examine and like watch what they say and only eat good things. And they're doing all these crazy things like sitting in like negative 30-degree weather with no clothes, and they're fine because they could just, it was like this interesting thought that was like so cool, because it was like, there is a point where you could empty yourself to the point where things become clear inside yourself. This is all super obvious at this point, and I think I've made the point, but I thought about, man, what else could I give up or I could watch myself with that would maybe help see clearer in life, different things, and gain understanding. And I'm curious what you have to say about all that. Sorry, I told you it was a spiel.
Now I'm being put on the spot.
Do you have anything to say?
Nothing super profound.
Do you agree with that assessment? Sorry.
Well, I certainly understand it. I'll go off on a bit of a, what do you call that? A complimentary spiel. Truth is powerful, but it's also, what's the word? Scary. It's dangerous because it can judge you. And if you cut out garbage, allow yourself to see things as they are, wherever you want to put it, you can find out things about yourself that you don't like, and that's very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, and myself in some ways, just try to block it out with garbage. It's relatively effective. But kind of like you said, imagine a version of yourself where you were able to do the right things. Observe yourself and go, this is bad, this is good, I'm going to choose this. And if you did that with everything, imagine what you could do. Imagine the potential that you have. And then know that you're not doing it by choice. And that's just like that crushing judgment. But truth is powerful, and a lot of people just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Truth judges you. And that was the idea that I was talking about before, when I was thinking, I'm not going to lie to my parents about drugs anymore. And the thing that judged me with was I had to figure out, is this wrong what I'm doing? And, if I can justify it morally, then I should also be able to justify telling the truth to these people about it, whether that means being confrontational or argumentative or whatever. And that's not for the sake of it. It's for the sake of telling the truth. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of completely unflattering things that I now tell the truth about myself still. If someone asks me, about my addictions or things like that, I just have to say, yeah, I'm addicted to this thing or this thing. I don't have to go shouting to the rooftops, well, I've got this problem and I'm stuck with it. But the idea is that I'm not going to hide it now. For sure. That helps. Like you said, it's such a judge of yourself. At a point, you have to have some mercy with yourself and say, okay, I'm flawed, but at the same time, you know exactly what you're not doing when you recognize, all right, I'm telling the truth about this problem that I continue to act in. And anyway, what then happens is you see why it's bad for you. And then what I haven't figured out yet is how that's supposed to, like, seeing why it's bad for you, how that's supposed to change your behavior in it. At some point, I think you just have to change your behavior, but it is, that's the exact right way to look at it. It's like, well, it's a judge. It's the standard you're holding yourself up against. But in the exact proportion that I adopt that philosophy of, I'm only going to say the truth, that is the exact amount of clarity that I have in my life. And maybe that seems really broad. I'm sure I could give specific examples. I don't want to take up too much more time with just this if you're done with it.
Yeah, I didn't have anything that I needed to say. I said some people avoid truth by getting junk. One thing I didn't say is some people attack truth. That's something some people do too. Like which would be, how would you put this? Deny facts. I mean, there's different ways, but if truth is a judge and you don't want to be uncomfortable, if you can't ignore it, you just try to destroy it. Whatever mechanism is there, whatever truth is there that I don't want to give a specific example, but I really feel like I need to. Okay. Yeah. So fat shaming, whatever, obesity. If someone's, there's a version of you that is not fat. If you, man, help me out here. I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're going to say, because the problem is health.
Right.
The problem is health. If you want to, I need help.
Okay, so here's what the first thing I thought of was the people that attack the judge in this scenario. It's so easy to see why they would, because what also is a judge is impending death, and people attack that all the time. You try to, and in principle, nature is chaos and stuff, and you fight that judge all the time. You just say, okay, well, we're going to build cities and we're not going to let nature just eat us alive. So like, it's kind of human nature to, if something is, I'm using the word judge, but if something is putting you in a weak light or assaulting you actively, then you usually defend yourself against that. And sometimes when you defend, you attack it to kill it, because sometimes the attacking thing is a murderous thing. The fat shaming example, I see what you're saying.
Man, my brain's not working right.
So like the people who attack that truth, that if you're too fat, you're not healthy and it will affect your life and you will die young, is basically derivation.
Because if you can do that, then you if you deny the danger that you're putting yourself in, then you're not doing anything wrong. It's easier than going, yeah, this is the way things are, and these are the consequences of my actions. It's easier to go,
it's easier to go, no, I'm beautiful the way I am. It's easier to do that. And that's attacking that judge, because it is a judge. And that's not to say that this isn't about whether fat people are beautiful, because that's not what we're talking about. It's just talking about the truth.
Example I come up with on the spot, and even though I didn't have it fully thought out.
Yeah. No, the fact of it is that if the more extra weight you carry, the less chance that you are going to live the full healthy lifestyle you could if you didn't carry that extra weight. That's the judge in this scenario. And the people who ignore that and say it doesn't matter, health at all sizes, that's one example of that. There's examples everywhere of people attacking truth.
Yeah.
I mean, biology examples. There's a lot of
geography.
Yeah. Yeah. Culture stuff, all that stuff. There's versions.
I was trying to pick one. I think I didn't flesh it out, but I was able to pick one that you can understand and most people are on one side about.
Yeah. But, and then here, but like that example is a good example, and it shows the utility of what I was saying. It kind of goes to confirm what I was saying about if you start telling the truth about everything, including the things that judge yourself, you see clear. Mm-hmm. So in the example you use about, fat shaming or the people who deny the potential health problems with it, you almost can see like a physical, like, blindness about them, because it's like they've had to lie to them. I think
is the definition of delusion.
Yeah.
Delusion is like almost like illusion. It's like a haze or a blur, and it obfuscates what's in front of you. That's why I think a delusion is. I can think of a way where I was delusional, that is blind to the truth, not seeing things for how they were, whatever the reasons were, because I was more comfortable, because I just thought it was the right thing to do. I am thinking of a specific example. I'm just being vague because I don't want to give details.
I think everybody could.
Delusion is if you ignore truth, attack truth, displace it enough, you live in delusion. You live in a state of mind that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's like a crazy thing that happens like when you just tell the truth, where it's like, yeah, it hurts to do that, but it does hurt more if you cover it up. Like this is all stuff everybody knows if you think about it. But what's so crazy is I'm talking about the minute things. Like I got there at 5:15. No, you didn't get there at 5:15. I got there at 5:22. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I always say exactly when I got there, because sometimes the point of conversation is to convey an idea more than it is to convey a fact. But in the case where I feel a moral obligation to say exactly the truth, I generally adopted that, and it has cleared even like things like politics and stuff. I don't get muddied up with that anymore. I can see how gross it is and how like conflicting both sides are, but I don't have to swim in that anymore. I can kind of just look at it and be like, all right, well, this is where the left is right, and this is where the right is right, and it seems like now that doesn't mean I know everything. It just means that I can see it clearly, I guess. And I'm not even saying, I already said it, I don't know things. I just see things, I think, better as a practice. And what it's compelling me to do is be more active in watching myself and how often I lie again. Because I know I still do. It. Sometimes I'll catch myself and I'll think about it later, be like, oh, that wasn't the truth, and that story wasn't exactly how it actually happened. That's one I really need to watch, because I exaggerate stories.
A cool feeling is, I'm sure everybody hopefully has had this, I'm sure you have at some point, maybe whether you can recall it or not, is you choose to tell the truth in a situation where it would be almost entirely advantageous to lie. However, even though you chose to speak the truth, things turned out better than you thought they could, and they worked out better than lying. You feel, wow, that's so great. I did the right thing, and good things happened, and that's a cool. Yeah,
it happens more often than you'd think too.
Yeah, people don't give it enough chances.
There's been times
if you can be there and feel right with yourself when you tell the truth, and then the situation doesn't work out the way you want it to, that's like freedom.
Yeah.
You fear nothing anymore. It's freaking great. And then that might be an indication that you are maybe not right with yourself, but that you're doing things well, to where you can tell the truth about things. How do I put this? If you're telling the truth about things, whether they're advantageous to you or not, and you're not, certainly you can be, righteous enough to where you have nothing to hide, to where you have no problems telling the truth. It's retroactive. It's kind of like when you said, if you look at yourself, judge yourself, you might change your behaviors, so that the next time when you have to tell the truth about something, or you tell the truth and realize, I need to change this behavior, you might hopefully ultimately get to the point to where you have no aversion to telling the truth, because you've corrected for the bad results.
Additionally, like, not only will you, like, if you start just telling the truth all the time, you probably have to you'll change your behavior in such a way that telling the truth becomes advantageous.
Reciprocal? I said retroactive. I don't think reciprocal is right either, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you tell the truth, you see the bad behavior, you fix the bad behavior, you tell the truth again. What's that word?
It snowballs, basically, is what you're trying to say.
One affects the other is what I mean.
Complementary.
So reciprocal is the word I use. I don't think that's quite right.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, you can get to a point to where telling the truth isn't a problem, and it's like freedom.
It doesn't hurt.
You're bound by nothing. You're in debt. You're in debt to nothing. It's very cool if you can get there.
Yeah. I don't want to get it to where I sound too preachy, like, you guys should tell the truth, but honestly,
you should be like me.
Well, I don't want it to sound like that.
That's just what we think.
I have one example of a thing where in every possible determinable way, I have one story where, in telling the truth, I was gonna lose a friendship. It was that kind of like an important relationship in my life, and there was no way I saw it ending good, telling the truth. And I chose to do it anyway. And oddly enough, that relationship with that person is one of my strongest ones now. And it's because they were like, I think it was honestly because it was like, well, he had no reason that he should have told me that truth. And now I have to, that person trusts me all the more for it. And so I look back on that moment in my life and be like, if that could turn out good in me telling the truth, then it must be a good thing to do, just generally.
Yeah, like I said, it's such a great feeling when you can't anticipate anything good coming out telling the truth, and you tell the truth, and it turns out to be even better than any situation you could have imagined. It's like, that was awesome.
Yeah. It makes me, anyway, but yeah. Doing that whole tell the truth thing, it even not doing it perfectly, because again, I still do those little lies sometimes and I catch myself in them. But even making an effort to do that has improved my life as a whole. And it's one of those things that I've been doing it for like the last 5 years. And what was really bizarre is after the girls left last night, and I was still kind of thinking about this stuff last night, is I was thinking, what if I hadn't done that? How bad could it have gotten if I would have just kept small lies up and not told the truth when it was difficult? Or like, I wouldn't have all these rich relationships that are honest with people that I do now. Cause I just, I'm not feigning that I'm this good person. I'm just honest about the things that are my downfalls. And it means I have more genuine relationships. I don't know. There's been no detriment to telling the truth. The detriment is that it hurts less than not telling the truth would. It was so interesting and cool. But especially the extrapolation from that was like, what if I got rid of all the junk? Like, I didn't have to be entertained like at night for my brain to go to sleep. I could actually sit there in bed and think about the stuff that's difficult to think about or relive or hash out in my mind. And I didn't have to distract myself. How quickly would I get over those things if I just let myself, do the process of, what people have to do to clean up their spirit, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I could start seeing the future if I wasn't watching YouTube and if I wasn't goofing around in my life. Maybe I could be a prophet. That's what I think. I really do think it goes that far, though. Don't you? Does that make sense to you?
I mean, I imagine being a prophet back then who also spent so much time playing games and doing entertainment. Like, I don't see that happening. They were like a monk is a good example. Just clear mind, nothing but, I don't know, truth and meditation.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound comfortable. It sounds pretty badass, which is because it's so hard and difficult, which is only which badass things only are. Like
Elijah. I'm thinking of the prophet Elijah. The dude just wanders through the wilderness and eats like freaking because crows feed him. And it's like that dude had nothing to do except for pray and think about God and stuff.
I couldn't wrap my head around that as a kid. Like, how do you just pray all day?
That's so boring. So boring.
And then, in a way it is, but if you got what's the word, enlightened?
Yes.
The concept of boring doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to be entertained.
Crazy.
You have the ultimate entertainment, which is like enlightenment. That dude literally walked around like everybody is monkeys. Like that's what he.
Everybody is monkeys. I like that phrase out of context too.
Everybody's.
That's monkeys. Like a funny insult. Everybody is monkeys. That's great.
It's true. I really think but I thought about this and I was like, all right, let's say from what's today's date? February
26, 25,
February 25th, 2021. I only prayed, and that's it. That's all I did all day. It would be
for 1 day.
It'd be for the whole rest of my life.
Oh shoot!
I got rid of everything, and I have friends still, but I'm like praying the whole time. So I'm with them, and they're like, "What is this dude doing even here? He's not even being our friend. He's just like mumbling to himself." I don't know. I've become this like crazy dude who just thinks and is good all the time. I can totally imagine a scenario where all of a sudden I just get superpowers because I have no idea what would happen to me if I did that. I just could start making fire freaking come down from the sky. I can burn up all the priestess
or worse, people. You believe that you can. A crazy situation.
Yes,
that's possible.
I think, but I think it seems so impossible and unfathomable to do all that stuff.
Kind of like how it's unfathomable to think that your friendship could be stronger by telling the truth in this situation. It's like you don't know what possibilities are there. That's the idea.
The idea, exactly that idea. But it's just because like it seems so. I don't know anybody who could do that, who could just give up TV and books and entertainment and food and work and job and career and family and wife, whatever. I can't imagine a person who would give all that stuff up and just think. And if I could imagine that person, that dude has a superpower for sure. Like, 'cause he's got some ability. He has something that the rest of us don't have because we're too heavy and bogged down. I don't know. I could totally see people seeing the future because maybe you imagine a scenario where you've just told the truth for so long and you've been good for so long that you can watch the bugs fly into the web before they see the web, because they've seen all these people that are just doing these things and they see this structure that people built in their gross stuff. And they're like, okay, this is heading towards disaster. And then you can go to the king and just be like, hey, just so you know, if you keep screwing up, you're going to run into the web. This is the parallel that I'm making in my mind. Of course you'd see things like that because you'd be so distanced from it. You just look back and be like, oh, these people are screwing up and this is what's going to happen to them. Your town's going to burn in fire. You're going to, whatever. I can see, like, I understand that idea now. Now it'd be cool to be able to do that. Just be so separate from it to just know that kind of thing. I don't know. That's the logical conclusion I came to in thinking about truth.
Yeah, it's tough. And how do I know that? Because who would choose that? Nobody. Because nobody has. No, I mean in our current 50. Should I say nobody has? Yeah. Nobody does.
Or actually, here's the fun idea. Maybe they have, but we wouldn't know them because they're not on the internet.
I thought about that.
They're in the woods.
Yeah.
They're preaching on mountaintops. I don't know. Maybe they exist still. It would be cool. I like the idea of it better than that in practice. I wonder if I could ever get to the point in my life where I was so disciplined that I was just like done with TV, done with all this stuff.
It'd be badass to converse with someone like that. I think with enlightenment comes some kind of intelligence. And we just like to speak to someone you admire, or better yet, although someone you admire, it qualifies, and an objectively intelligent person. Like, wow, I just would like to have a conversation with them. I like to do that with an enlightened person. I was like, I want to know what they have to say.
The best example I could think of is Jordan Peterson. Yeah. That's but exactly what happened with him is what I imagine would happen with the dude on the mountain who's just doing that. Yeah. But even more so, because just being around that person, you would be, I don't want to be around anybody else because you're so interesting. I wonder what he's going to say. Right.
And he goes, everyone is monkeys. And you're like, whoa, he's right. I never thought about it that way. It's just, whoa.
I love that. He just stands there. Everybody shush. He's about to say something. Yeah. And the guy's shirtless. He gets up on the mountain rock and everyone is monkeys. Say more. And then he goes back into his cave and prays for another couple
100
weeks.
years. Yeah.
He's like 250 years old because he only eats heaven sent pigeon meat and feathers. Oh man, that sounds so crazy. That sounds so bizarre. But you wouldn't ever want to hang around anybody else because everybody else isn't as interesting as that guy.
Yeah, at least like converse with. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but you would want to. No matter what you believe, I can imagine why you would want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You would want to
unless I guess you're hard into closing off, no information, no truth. I mean, I guess that's possible. I don't want to hear what anybody has to say because I'm right about everything. I guess if you're that person, then sure you don't want to hear it. But
how I can easily justify not doing the work to becoming that dude is because you look back through Bible times too, when they didn't have TV and stuff, and only a few guys were like that still, because there's still like enough stuff to distract you. Like all the other people in history, they definitely had something that muddied their minds, whether it was them not being vigilant about what they said or not telling the truth or having a ton of wives and concubines or whatever. Like there's just things to muddy up life through all time. And now maybe more than ever because there's just so much stuff, so many people. It'd be really fresh. Because what would happen is if that dude existed, as soon as a dude who used the internet found that dude, he'd be on the internet and he'd be like, I don't want to do this. But then he would say such smart things that it would change a whole bunch of people's lives. Mm-hmm. That's what I think would happen.
And what's crazy is those smart things that guy would say are potentially in so many people.
Yeah.
We're just burying it.
Yeah.
It's sad if you think about it. But that, oxymoronically, is exactly what we're trying to not do, is to not think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
and what's another interesting thing is things that dude would say might already be written down in a certain really old book. You know?
Yeah.
That could be what that is. It's also clearly written by some dudes who were not like that. In parts. I don't know. I think that the information and the wisdom is out there, and that, there's a certain amount of introspection that you can do to actually gain some of it because of just how the universe works. You don't have to do a lot of looking for it outside. I don't know. That's not to say if you just look inside, the answers are there. Maybe it is a little bit to say that.
That was a good topic, enlightenment. It's about time to end it.
Yes.
We are going to be back very soon because we weren't here last week, so we're going to try to do like a back-to-back to catch up on our quota.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sorry, this one's a little short. We have to go eat Culver's, and it's going to close.
Culver's? I thought we were going to Five Ass.
I know,
whatever.
but
we could do
drive-through.
Whatever. It's fine.
Better
it's fine.
Butterburger.
It's fine.
We have to do this.
Yeah, we have to. It's important. So yeah, we'll be back soon. It's yours. You close it out, and I'll put it on that camera.
Hey, if any one of you is a prophet, let us know so we can get enlightened by you.
Yeah, please.
Hey, this is actually a topic full episode.
Yeah, it was. Enlightenment is what I would call it.
Truth, enlightenment.
Whatever. We'll think about that later.
Okay. Bye, guys. See you soon.
Bye.